Well, greetings viewers and voyeurs, gothatfunk here in a video response, my first ever in fact, to Tommy from the Bronx. How you doing, Tommy? I'm a huge fan of your channel, man. I love your videos. I think you're fucking hilarious and very entertaining. You tell great stories. And I therefore am saying this because I don't want you to think this video comes from a bad place. You know, I'm a huge fan. But I have to say, your video, Islamic Stranglehold, out there, brother, out there. No way. I just couldn't let it lie with a text comment. I thought about it, and no, do a video response to this, okay? So before I tell you what my problems are with what you said in your video, let's talk about the common ground that we probably have, yeah? In your video, you mentioned how an NPR presenter was fired from his job for saying on air that he felt nervous when he saw Muslims in their garb on airplanes. And he got fired for that. Now, I agree with you, Tommy, that he should not have been fired for that. I do think he should have faced some kind of sanction for it, but I don't think, you know, firing him for it is a knee-jerk reaction and way over the top. He should have just got, you know, an official reprimand maybe and been asked to issue an apology for any offense he might have caused. I would have thought that would be sufficient. It's sufficient for politicians and Tiger Woods, right? So why can't this guy just say, I'm sorry, and be allowed to keep doing what he was doing? So, you know, I think firing him was over the top. I really do. Having said that, I do totally understand the rationale behind firing him. Because if you're speaking as a representative of the company that you work for, and you say or do something that will put your company in disrepute, your management is quite within its rights to let you go for possibly costing the company prestige and or money based on the fact that you've sullied their reputation. So, yeah, I mean, I understand why he got fired, but like I say, I think it was going too far, but I understand it, okay? So we probably feel very similarly on that issue. Now, where we really disagree is about this whole implication that you're saying that it's okay to judge Muslims in their garb and be nervous about them because they're Muslims, because of 9/11. I mean, you came straight out and said that, Tom, and it's like, come on, brother, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. But before I talk about, you know, the Muslim thing, let's just flip it around here and talk about the principle of what you're talking about, okay? Guilt by association, collective punishment, those two concepts are absolutely antithetical to the American Constitution and everything about being American. This idea that it's okay to be prejudiced against people for something they've never personally done is really, really wrong, and something that I try to squash whenever I fucking see it. Now, let's turn the whole tables around on you, Tommy, to hopefully help you understand why it's wrong. I mean, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're an Italian American, right? And would it be fair for people to assume, listen to your voice and see the way you dress, and to assume that you must be a member of the mafia? You know, the stereotype does exist. I'm sure you've come across it before. And I'm sure when you have come across it before, you just, you know, you've got a thick skin and a good sense of humor, so you probably just laugh it off as, you know, it's just an idiot's opinion. I'm sure you don't get offended when someone says, oh, you're in the mob or anything like that, you know, whatever. And that's good. You know, I'm glad you're mature enough and so forth not to blow it out of proportion because it's just an ignorant statement. But what if millions of people were making that statement almost every fucking day? Do you think your sensitivity might increase as a result of that? Let me give you another example where we flip the tables around here for a second, okay? 6.5 years ago, we had the unfortunate experience of finding out that some soldiers in Iraq were ritually mistreating Iraqi prisoners at Abu Ghraib prison. And some of those photographs were absolutely horrendous. And those people, those soldiers, you know, George Bush at the time, and most politicians for that matter, tried to write it off as just a few bad apples. Okay, fine. Those soldiers were wearing the country's uniform, which from my point of view, Tommy, means they're wrapping themselves in my fucking flag, okay? And my flag for my country represents you, represents me, represents everyone in America, represents the government, represents the Constitution, okay? And they were wearing our uniform. They were wearing our flag. They were representing America. Whether they represented my views or not is irrelevant to the fucking Iraqis. To the Iraqis that were the victims of that abuse, America did that shit to them. Not a few miscreants, not a few bad apples. The United States did that shit to them. No, I'm an American. At the time that happened, I was incredibly vocal. I used to keep a live journal at the time, and man, I bitched about it fucking constantly. How disgusted I was, how appalling I think it was, how I thought George Bush should take personal responsibility, and blah, blah, blah. You know, so I did everything I could to distance myself. You know, everyone's saying Muslims should distance themselves from terrorism. Well, I did everything I possibly could to distance myself from the actions and the motivation behind the actions of what happened at Abu Ghraib in 2003, 2004. All right? But having said all that, would an Iraqi be justified in getting nervous about seeing me on an airplane because I'm an American? Would they? Is it fair ever to judge the many by the actions of a few? Those people, despite the fact that they were wearing the country's uniform, did not represent me. They did not represent my views. Unfortunately, though, they were in a position where it might be perceived to be the case that they did represent me and my views. Made more so by the fact that even after those fucking pictures became public, our country fucking re-elected the jackass that was in office at the time. So surely Iraqis and anyone else in the world would say, hey, well, Americans must either not care or support what happened in Abu Ghraib, which is exactly what people are saying about fucking Muslims regarding terrorists in 9/11. So you can't fucking have it both ways. You can't say, no, 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 those guys don't represent me. Don't judge me by the actions of those bad apples. Right? If you can't be judged by the actions of those fucking soldiers, why is it okay to judge Muslims who had nothing to fucking do with 9/11? You can't judge the many by the actions of a few. Do you ever think it's okay to be judged for the actions of someone else when it had nothing to do with you? It's just plain wrong, Tommy. You fucking know that. So, you know, I hope this video has given you a different way to think about it. Whether I change your mind or not is irrelevant to me, but I wanted to give you some other way to think about it because honestly, man, honestly, I don't think it's fair for me to be judged or for you to be judged by Iraqis or any other Muslims upon the basis of what happened to Abu Ghraib, you know? So that's my 2 cents worth. Chew on that for a while. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.